What if your greatest heartbreak led you straight to your greatest destiny? What if the dreams you gave up on were the key to unlocking the life you were always meant to live? Stay with me, because this story might just change the way you see love, family, and second chances forever. It all began on a bright afternoon, at a baby shower that was supposed to be full of laughter and celebration. But for Mia Carter, it marked the beginning of a journey she never saw coming. Mia arrived late to the baby shower of her sister-in-law. The event was held in the house she grew up in, her mother Evelyn's warm, familiar home. Walking in hand with Jake, her boyfriend who spent most of his days at home playing video games, dreaming of someday creating his own, Mia felt the weight of every gaze. Before she even walked through the door, Evelyn had asked for her, sighing when she realized Mia was running late again. "We're always on Mia's time," she muttered, a half-hearted smile on her lips, but a worried look in her eyes. Inside, the room buzzed with laughter, filled with friends and old classmates, women now married, pregnant, mothers, all moving forward with their lives. And there Mia stood, feeling stuck, invisible behind. As she tried to blend in, old acquaintances approached her, throwing questions like daggers. "I heard you quit baking." Baking, her lifelong dream, her passion, her everything. Before Mia could answer, her niece and nephew ran up to her, complaining that their father wouldn't let them have cake. Always the fun aunt, Mia gave in, letting them sneak a piece, needing, even in that small way, to feel like she still mattered. From across the room, Evelyn watched her daughter struggle to fit in, her heart aching. She moved to comfort Mia. But just as she reached her, another guest pulled her away with a trivial question. And Mia was left standing alone. Earlier, Mia and Jake had agreed. If it got too overwhelming, Mia would give a subtle sign and they would sneak away to her childhood bedroom. Mia flashed the sign, and Jake slipped away. But just as Mia turned to follow, her brother intercepted her for a quick catch-up chat, pinning her longer in the discomfort. Later that night, long after the guests had left, Mia lay curled in bed beside Evelyn, her safe place, her constant. And then, Evelyn spoke the words that shattered Mia's world. "Sweetheart, my cancer is back." The air left Mia's lungs, her heart shattered, tears welled in her eyes. Panicked and desperate, Mia pleaded with her mother to move in with her, even telling her about a new groundbreaking cancer treatment program in Turkey. But Evelyn, always strong, always selfless, shook her head. "I need you to live your life, Mia. Chase your happiness. Don't anchor yourself to my illness." Weeks later, Evelyn passed away. And Mia could barely pull herself from her mother's bed. The grief so heavy, so suffocating, it nearly swallowed her whole. Her brothers tried to hold her together, but Mia drifted through the days like a ghost. And then, the day of the will reading arrived. A day that would bring not closure, but betrayal. Everyone assumed Evelyn would leave her successful company to Mia. After all, Mia had been working there loyally for over a year. She was the obvious choice, the favored daughter. But when the lawyer, the executor of Evelyn's estate, walked in, Mia's heart nearly stopped. It was Liam, her childhood sweetheart. The boy who once made her laugh till she cried. The boy whose family moved overseas years ago, leaving only memories and a hollow place in her heart. And now, here he was. Older, sharper. But his eyes still carried that same spark, and something else, something heavier. When Liam opened the will, jaws dropped. Evelyn had left the company not to Mia, but to Ruth, Mia's sister-in-law. Not Mia, not even close. And Ruth? She was instructed to appoint a new managing director immediately. Someone to take the very position Mia currently held. Shock, anger, betrayal. It crashed over Mia like a tsunami. Why? How could her mother, the one person she trusted above all else, abandon her like this? Seeing the devastation on Mia's face, Liam quietly asked her to step outside. There, with trembling hands, he gave her a sealed envelope. It was marked in Evelyn's handwriting. "To Mia, when you're alone." Mia clutched the letter to her chest and fled. At home, she ripped open the envelope. Inside, a list. A list she and her mother had made when she was just a teenager. A list of dreams and promises she had once held close. Dreams she had abandoned long ago. Item hash 1, rekindle an old friendship. Item hash 2, go back to baking. Item hash 3, face the fear of public speaking. Item hash 4, forgive her father. Item hash 5, find true love. And at the bottom, a note. Complete this list, and your true inheritance will be revealed. At first, Mia laughed bitterly. Complete a list? Like some kind of game? But the laughter quickly turned into tears. How could she possibly face all of this? She was barely surviving. Feeling crushed by the weight of her grief, her failures, her fears, Mia made her way back to the lawyer's office, where Liam was still organizing the estate documents. She burst into the room, her hands trembling, the letter crumpled in her grip. I can't do this, she said, her voice breaking. I can't pretend to be the girl she thought I was. I'm not her anymore. I'm not strong enough. For a moment Liam said nothing. He simply looked at her, really looked, seeing all the pain she was trying to hide. He stood slowly, closing the distance between them. And then, with that quiet steadiness she remembered from their childhood, Liam spoke. Mia, you have nothing to lose, and everything to gain. Your mother believed in you, so do I. You don't have to be strong today, you just have to be willing. And somehow, those simple words cracked something open inside Mia. Not strength, not hope, but maybe the tiniest spark of belief. And so, with shaking hands and a heart full of fear, Mia made a decision, not for the inheritance, not for appearances, but for her mother, for Evelyn's last wish. He stood slowly, closing the distance between them. And then, with that quiet steadiness she remembered from their childhood, Liam spoke. Mia, you have nothing to lose, and everything to gain. Your mother believed in you, so do I. You don't have to be strong today, you just have to be willing. And somehow, those simple words cracked something open inside Mia. Not strength, not hope, but maybe the tiniest spark of belief. And so, with shaking hands and a heart full of fear, Mia made a decision, not for the inheritance, not for appearances, but for her mother, for Evelyn's last wish. Mia sat alone in her apartment, the list crumpled in her hand. Tears blurred the ink her mother had once so carefully written. The room was filled with echoes of a girl who had dared to dream. Before life, fear, and heartbreak silenced her. She thought about the future. She thought about Jake, still in the living room, controller in hand, oblivious to the storm raging inside her. She couldn't do this. Not halfway. Not with dead weight holding her back. If she was going to honor her mother's wish, truly honor it, she had to let go of everything that no longer fit who she was becoming. Heart pounding, she walked to Jake. Jake, we need to talk, she said, her voice trembling. He barely looked up from his game. Can it wait? No, she said firmly. Not anymore. Mia told him the truth. That she cared for him, yes, but she wasn't in love with him. That somewhere along the way, they had become two different people clinging to something already broken. That she needed to find herself again, and he wasn't part of that journey. Jake looked stunned, angry, hurt. But Mia didn't waver. For the first time in years, she chose herself. When he left that night, slamming the door behind him, Mia sat back down on the bed. Alone, terrified, but free. And with that first heartbreaking step, she knew she was ready. Item hash 1. Rekindle an old friendship. It had to be Sarah. Sarah, the girl who once knew her soul. Sarah, the one she lost because of pride and heartbreak. With shaking hands, Mia found Sarah's number in her contacts and hit call. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Just as she was about to lose hope, Sarah answered. Hello? Mia's voice cracked. Hey, it's Mia. There was a long pause and then a laugh, soft, disbelieving, the sound of home. Mia Carter, after all these years. The next morning they met for coffee. Awkward at first, then beautiful. Laughter poured out like rain after a long drought. When they hugged goodbye, Mia knew. She hadn't just checked off a list item. She had found a piece of herself she thought was lost forever. As she walked home, the list in her pocket felt lighter, and for the first time in a long time, so did her heart. Mia stood at the threshold of the tiny empty shop on the corner of Maple and Fifth. Dust danced in the sunlight streaming through the windows. It smelled of old wood and possibility. It wasn't much, but it could be everything. Item hash 2 on the list. Go back to baking. For years, Mia had tucked her apron away, burying the dreams of flour-dusted mornings and sugar-sweet afternoons under piles of disappointment. But the memory of her mother's warm kitchen, the place where magic was made with bare hands and big dreams, called her back now, stronger than ever. Still, doubt gnawed at her. Was she too old to start over? Was she even good enough anymore? Mia clutched the key tightly in her hand, feeling the weight of her decision. The first loaf she baked was a disaster. The second was barely better, but she kept going, pouring her grief, her fear, her hope into every batter and dough. Word spread faster than she could imagine. First a curious neighbor, then an old teacher, then lines out the door. People didn't just buy Mia's pastries. They devoured them like tiny pieces of love wrapped in frosting and flake. Each smile, each compliment stitched the broken parts of her back together. She was good. No, she was great. One morning, standing behind the counter dusted in flour and sunshine, Mia realized she wasn't chasing dreams anymore. She was living them. Her shop became a haven, for her, for the town, for anyone who needed a reminder that it was never too late to begin again. And as she pulled a tray of perfect golden croissants from the oven, Mia wiped away a tear. Not from sadness, but from gratitude. "Thank you, Mom," she whispered into the warm, vanilla-scented air. Outside, as the little bell above her door chimed, Sarah walked in carrying a bouquet of fresh daisies, and something even sweeter, pride in her best friend's eyes. Mia tucked the list deeper into her apron pocket. 2 items down, 3 to go. And for the first time since opening that envelope, Mia wasn't afraid of what came next. She was ready. The grand ballroom buzzed with excitement. White linens, golden chandeliers, soft music swirling in the air. And in the middle of it all, Mia stood, heart hammering against her ribs. Item #3 on her mother's list. Face of fear, public speaking. But how did she even get here? It all started 3 weeks ago at the town's weekend farmers market. Arms loaded with bags of flour, cocoa, and fresh strawberries for her bakery, Mia had stumbled, literally, into a stranger. Flour exploded into the air between them like a cartoon. Embarrassed, Mia began apologizing, but the man just laughed. A deep, infectious laugh that disarmed her instantly. "Looks like we're both victims of the baking life," he joked, brushing flour from his sleeve. His name was Ethan Hart, a talented baker, and as fate would have it, he was preparing to launch his first recipe book, Heart and Batter. They bonded over pastries and dreams, spending hours trading baking stories and laughing like old friends. Then out of nowhere, Ethan asked her, "Would you consider being a speaker at my book launch? Talk about chasing dreams through flour and fire?" Mia's immediate instinct was to say no. Public speaking terrified her. But then she remembered the list and her mother's wishes. And now, here she was standing at Ethan's book launch, facing her greatest fear. She clutched the podium, feeling the weight of every doubt she had ever carried. The crowd waited. She caught a glimpse of Liam at the back, a solid presence, his eyes urging her to breathe, to believe. Sarah, too, beaming encouragement from the front row. And somewhere deep inside, she felt her mother's spirit whisper, "Be brave, my darling." Taking a deep, shaking breath, Mia spoke. At first, her voice was no stronger than a whisper. She talked about failure, about dreams that crumbled, about starting again when all seemed lost. The room fell silent, hanging on to every word. Mia's honesty cracked something open, not just in her audience, but in herself. Every shaky sentence stitched her back together. By the time she finished, the entire room stood, applauding thunderously, not out of politeness, but out of deep, heartfelt connection. The crowd waited. She caught a glimpse of Liam at the back, a solid presence, his eyes urging her to breathe, to believe. Sarah, too, beaming encouragement from the front row. And somewhere deep inside, she felt her mother's spirit whisper, "Be brave, my darling." Taking a deep, shaking breath, Mia spoke. At first, her voice was no stronger than a whisper. She talked about failure, about dreams that crumbled, about starting again when all seemed lost. The room fell silent, hanging on to every word. Mia's honesty cracked something open, not just in her audience, but in herself. Every shaky sentence stitched her back together. By the time she finished, the entire room stood, applauding thunderously, not out of politeness, but out of deep, heartfelt connection. Mia smiled through tears she couldn't stop. Another item crossed off the list. Another piece of herself reclaimed. Backstage, Ethan found her first, giving her a warm, proud hug. "You were incredible, Mia. Just incredible." And then Liam was there too, eyes shining with pride, whispering words she would hold on to forever. "Your mom would be so proud of you." For the first time in a long time, Mia believed it too. After the high of the book launch, Ethan became a constant presence in Mia's life. He brought laughter, energy, and an easy charm that made everything feel lighter. Baking experiments spilled into late nights, coffee dates turned into spontaneous adventures, and laughter echoed through Mia's newly opened bakery like music. For the first time in years, Mia allowed herself to feel hopeful. Ethan was everything she thought she needed, passionate, ambitious, and full of life. He pushed her out of her comfort zone, encouraging her to dream bigger, to take risks, to step into the world with arms wide open. He made her heart race. But, as the weeks went by, something gnawed quietly at the corners of Mia's happiness. The next morning, the world looked different. Mia woke up with a nervous flutter in her stomach, the kind of feeling she hadn't had since she was a teenager dreaming about fairy tales. But this wasn't a fantasy. This was real, and it terrified her. She spent the whole day pacing around her bakery, second-guessing herself, wondering if last night had been a mistake. Maybe she had misunderstood Liam's words. Maybe she was too broken to love anyone properly. But when Liam showed up at her door that evening, drenched from the rain holding a bouquet of wildflowers, all of Mia's fears melted away. He didn't speak right away. He just looked at her, really looked at her, like she was the only thing that had ever mattered. "I meant every word," he said softly. "I'm not asking you to be perfect, Mia. I'm asking you to be you, and to let me love you the way you deserve to be loved." The dam inside her broke. Tears slipped down Mia's cheeks, but this time they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of hope, of healing, of a heart finally finding its missing piece. Without hesitation, Mia stepped into Liam's arms, and in that embrace, warm, safe, complete, she realized the truth. This wasn't about filling a void or fixing something broken. This was about two people who had found their way back to each other, stronger and more beautiful because of everything they had endured. As they stood there, tangled in each other, Mia's heart whispered what she finally had the courage to believe. "I meant every word," he said softly. "I'm not asking you to be perfect, Mia. I'm asking you to be you, and to let me love you the way you deserve to be loved." The dam inside her broke. Tears slipped down Mia's cheeks, but this time they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of hope, of healing, of a heart finally finding its missing piece. Without hesitation, Mia stepped into Liam's arms, and in that embrace, warm, safe, complete, she realized the truth. This wasn't about filling a void or fixing something broken. This was about two people who had found their way back to each other, stronger and more beautiful because of everything they had endured. As they stood there, tangled in each other, Mia's heart whispered what she finally had the courage to believe. Exactly the one her mother had always wanted for her. Life doesn't always turn out the way we imagine. Dreams are delayed, hearts are broken, we lose people we thought we could never live without. But sometimes, life gives us something even better. A second chance, a new beginning. For Mia Carter, that second chance came in the form of a handwritten list, a list her mother had carefully crafted, filled not with demands but with dreams. Each item was a thread, weaving Mia back to the person she had always been, and the woman she was always meant to become. She found her voice in front of hundreds. She found her passion again in the delicate folds of baking dough and the scent of fresh pastries. She found forgiveness in the eyes of a father she had misunderstood. She found strength in rekindling old friendships and letting go of old regrets. And most of all, Mia found love, true, honest, enduring love, in the arms of someone who had loved her all along. Someone who saw every flaw, every scar, and still chose her, over and over again. In the end, the promise list wasn't just about checking off goals or fulfilling her mother's final wishes. It was about living, loving, forgiving, and believing that even after loss, even after grief, there is still light, still hope, still beauty waiting on the other side. Mia Carter didn't just complete her mother's list, she completed her own heart. And as she stood in her bakery smiling through tears, watching the life she had built bloom before her, she realized the greatest gift her mother ever gave her was the courage to begin again. Life doesn't always follow the path we expect, but sometimes the detours lead us exactly where we're meant to be. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a little hope today. Until next time, keep believing, keep dreaming, and never forget. Sometimes, the greatest love story you'll ever live is the one you write for yourself.